Hello friends, welcome back to Value Vintage Cards. This is almost just a catch-up opportunity. I've kind of been missing contributing in a couple of ways I wanted to. So John P had a VR out that I have officially missed, even extended it, and I still missed it. So I'm just not keeping up with what I want to. Just life been busy, work's been crazy, which is usually a good thing. It's just a matter of pulling time away from the fun hobby stuff. So wanted to catch up a little bit. I'm going to share 8 cards, I think, today. A little bit around the theme of what John asked us to do. So I do want to at least contribute to his question. I wanted to address a little bit. John Mangini posted a video the other day and said, how do you collect? I thought about just commenting and saying more or less like you do. But I think the 8 cards I'm going to show actually illustrate pretty gosh darn well how I collect, and I can explain a little bit as to why these are a good 8 to illustrate. They're all somewhat recent pickups within the last, I don't know, weeks, months, whatever, but most of them are new arrivals for some reason or another. So I'm going to go through that. And I also want to cover, somebody mentioned that they thought all the video responses and community chatter was lazy content creation. I can't even remember where I saw that. So if it was you and you're my friend, this is me just point counterpoint, having discussion on it. Personally, I enjoy that a lot. I actually like those a lot. It keeps the topic going, it keeps the discussion going, it gives someone else's perspective. So if I said I really like this and here's why, and you said I don't like it as much, discussion in the comments is great, or some of my friends are emailing me, and that's cool too. But I think it's fun to see a video topic released. It gives the topic a little more room to breathe, and things like John's, VR. One of the things that does is it brings about people contributing that watch his channel that maybe I haven't been connected to in some way, shape, or form. And even just, folks that comment, it opens up their opportunity to see someone else mentioned and find. So I think without doing some of these community building topics and rebuttals, it keeps us stagnant, and really at the heart of it, especially in the vintage world, if you think you're doing original content, we're all kind of remixing the same ideas. We have different perspectives, we have different ways of viewing it, we have different ways of maybe grouping and explaining, and some of us will give you some details and maybe make it a little more educational than someone else that's more on the entertainment side of the spectrum. But I don't think any of it's bad. So I wanted to contribute to both John and, the Johns. So one of the ideas was to name 2 other channels with the VR challenge that you think people should know of and hear of. And the other part was to show at least a few players that you wish you could have seen play. So all of them will be prior to my life. Not every card here is a player I want to see play, but I'll mention a couple of them. But the other thing is to name 3 channels. So 3 that I've been watching, and I appreciate what they're contributing in different ways. Mike with Jayhawker. I'll obviously send links to all these with my descriptions. Great channel, great collecting mind. Cardboard Coach Neil, very new channel, but if you're not watching him, then you probably shouldn't be watching me, because his collection is phenomenal, and I think we are collecting twins as well. So the stuff he is showing is very much my taste. So phenomenal channel, and really interesting insights and perspectives. So cool channel. And the other one, Tony Talks Cards. I think Tony is doing a few things that are needed, and I think what he's doing is important. So he's doing a lot of collaborations, a lot of building community and a lot of other channel endorsements and encouraging. And the one thing I will say about this community is it's very positive, and it's not found in every community on YouTube and every community in the world and every community in many ways. So keep putting out that positivity and encouraging. I think it's wonderful. All right, let's jump in. So John's idea, how do you collect? Well, first one I'm going to show is a good illustration. This thing just came in. How do you collect? I collect stuff like this. Look at me hiding behind it because I'm trying to make sure there's no crazy glare, but there is on these monster oversized tray tables. 1950 All-Star Baseball pinups. They call this one uncut because it's got basically this little bit of a frame to it, as it would have come like with the book. So Stan Musial, if I'm going to get one, it's going to be Stan Musial. And here's what's neat. And again, how do you collect? I collect things that have really cool write-ups. I love that. So for me, if you're going to give me a cool image on the front that's not a super common image, and then also include a big old neat write-up on the back, you got me. And it's ginormous, so it displays well. I always say old eyes can see those things better. Stan Musial, outstanding hitter in the National League. It's super neat. All right, so that's number one. Number two I'm going to go to is the next biggest. 1936 Wheaties Series 3. I get lost in that stuff, I'll be honest. There's a whole bunch of different varieties of Wheaties. Some have neat images in different ways. This one I thought was super cool. Actually, I know John's shown this one, and he kind of, I think, was drawn to the same idea. It's Gehrig fielding, which is awesome. Looks very much like the R315 image of him, which I think that's fantastic. That's a real photo image, so that's on my list. But love the idea that he's fielding. It is in a ginormous slab. These tend to be hand cut in different ways, so it's kind of missing a little bit of the ornate border at the top here. As you look, there's cool border, and then kind of missing. Sometimes you'll see these cut really close, and so whoever cut it back in the day cut it like here, and they got rid of the entire border altogether. So you'll see these in wide ranges. This is an A. If you want numbers on these, I don't know what you're going to do. Your life is going to be hard. These just don't come with numbers. So they do. But you're searching and searching and searching, and you're gaining like a slight ornate border for thousands of dollars. For me, give me the gosh darn image. The image itself is really good. That was another big auction score. Went for way less than they do on eBay. So every so often those things will slide through. Wheaties in general are going to be a good value buy. I love these. They're gigantic. They're cool. But they're definitely more affordable than like your Goudies and your other options. What else did I want to hit on this? Oh, the writing on it. So Lou Gehrig, Iron Man of Baseball. Got me, right? Start throwing nicknames in. That's another thing I love collecting. 1,653 consecutive games. So pretty far into the streak. 2130, right? Baseball is phenomenal because we get numbers and we're drawn to numbers. You know, give me a statistical number for football and basketball and hockey, and you might get a couple spit out, but it's not like baseball. You know, you say 714, you say 755, you say 2130. You know, all those things mean something, right? Even 300, 50, 50, like all those things, like they all have meaning that we instantly go, boom. Numbers are cool. So that for me was awesome for the Lou Gehrig piece. Next one I'm going to show is going to look familiar, but it might not be as familiar for most. It's a 1930 W. I'm just going to show the back first, because back damage, how do you collect? I love back damage. I mean, I don't prefer it, but it's what makes this affordable. So it's a 1930 W554. That image is going to look really familiar. If you know what the cash-in image looks like, you're going to say it looks just like it. I can't promise every single image in this set is the same as cash-in, but everyone I can think of is. So maybe it is. I haven't dug into this set deep enough to know if that's true for every single item. I believe every single one of them that I have is the exact same, so maybe they are all the same. But the Babe Ruth, it's not a quadruple print in this set, so it does tend to be, I think, the biggest card in the set. And I just think this is awesome because it is, so this is the same size case as a T3 would be. So bigger case, but image is phenomenal, and even that much better that it's this much bigger than what a cash-in would be. The card itself, I have to research this too. They're W's, which should mean that they're hand cut. I've never seen one cut in any kind of crazy way. These all seem to be really clean and well centered, and nothing about it looks like the Wheaties did. What got this one a 1 is there is a hole and the back has damage, but the presentation of this is phenomenal still. So if you're going to get a oversized Babe Ruth, those factors, you know, a little bit of a pinhole, a little bit of back damage, all that stuff tends to keep it a little bit more affordable. And that set, you're still talking way less than a Gaudi, which for me is kind of the marker. Exhibits are definitely on my radar as well. So, oh, and players I would want to see play. Darn, see, look at me messing up. I'd go back and say Stan Musial, absolutely, 1000%, and Lou Gehrig. I don't know who wouldn't want to see Babe Ruth play, but he's not one of my top few favorite players, but I would definitely still want to see him play. Next up, I very smoothly transitioned on accident to this thing that I just got in. I'm going to do a little special on the different exhibit poses for Walter Johnson. So this is the 1925 exhibits Walter Johnson. Within the exhibits series of 21 to like 29, call it, I believe there's 4 different poses of Walter Johnson, and I believe I have them all. There's more than 4 issues. It's just you start seeing years where they will share the same image. So the only thing you're really gaining is like a slightly different presentation. So if you look at this down here, you'll notice there's like name information in a box. That's really what you do on these to identify the year. So this is a 1925 exhibits. It's a pose of him, Walter Johnson, pitcher, Washington AL, made in USA. This one got a 1, which I think was extremely harsh. So thank you, grading companies, for being extremely harsh. That presents fantastically. I would take every card in my collection in this condition. The other thing I think is cool, it got a mark. So now it's really cheap, right? Somebody wrote on the back. I'm going to guess, because he did coach / manage, I believe, for just a little bit, maybe, what, 5 to 7 years after he retired with Cleveland. Back of this says Man Cleve, C-L-E-V. And maybe, it's hard to tell, maybe right here is a little bit of scuffing paper loss, I'm not sure. I love when there's writing on the back and it's not crazy. I love when you find like a place's address or somebody's name, or I'm going to share one that I shared the other day, and there's a full-on like, hey, can I borrow your car question on the back of it. I love that. To me, that gives such character. That's not written on like somebody colored a mustache on them and tried to make it look silly. That's people using this in their personal collection, probably in 1934, and said, hey, this guy's, you know, a coach for Cleveland now. Oh, actually, yeah, they're not calling him a man, they're saying he's the manager. So when you look at that and you start to understand, I literally just got this in yesterday. I love when there's writing like that. You just start exploring and you're like, so somebody updated the information on that card. You know, they weren't playing PS5 and trading players. They're just like, hey, I've got this thing. Oh, wait, hold on. He's not a player anymore. He's a manager for Cleveland. I love that. So to me, that's like that much more exciting and interesting and cool. And yes, I would absolutely want to see Walter Johnson play for John P. Uh, Walter Johnson, phenomenal. Good human being from everything I see. Friends with Ty Cobb, which almost, to me, makes me want to dive in and see, I don't think it makes Walter Johnson a worse guy. I think maybe Ty Cobb was, uh, you know, secretly a good guy that was just so gosh darn ultra competitive. Um, and maybe chemically imbalanced. I don't know. But we'll go with that. Next one up, another great illustration. It's oversized. It's simple. Things I like to collect. Take a look at the back of that. You get write-ups on 2 players, and you get an in-action. And the in-action is Eddie Collins. So you get some Eddie Collins info going. Love it. This is great at a fair. Reason being, you can see a nice line right there. These were folded in half constantly. You'll find these where they're broken off and they become basically borderless T205s, which is a gorgeous option as it is. But a lot of these are folded in half. So you find a lot of them that are 1s, 1.5s, low grade. Depending on the image, sometimes the image is exciting. You can get, Ty Cobb and Joe Jackson and Eddie Collins and Tris Speaker and the $100,000 infield or whatever it was. Like, when you get all these different neat images in the middle, which makes it worth collecting itself. For me, and this is another topic. How do you collect? John was going into the idea of, do you collect only Hall of Famers or only this? He mentioned players that were commons. From his world, John Candelaria and Kent DeColvey and some of those guys. For me, I collect guys that tell the story, which in most cases is the Hall of Famers and the stars and the people that are interesting. It's maybe tougher to pick up just a card. I will say some of the really rare sets of like the early 1900s and even 1800s maybe, if I see a pose and an image that is just spectacular, I've almost made that just like an artwork purchase and said, maybe I want to have a couple of those, or it's a good example of that set. Some of the sets go for so gosh darn much. There's a comma for a comment. So at that point, maybe you bow out of looking for Christy Mathewson and you say, I'll take this guy. But for me, if I'm going multiplayer and I have a choice, T202s are, not 1,000 of them, but there's not 4 of them either. When I can get 2 significant players, in this case 2 Hall of Famers, Frank Baker and Eddie Collins, both in the same card, I prefer that. So if you put Collins with the utility infielder that played 1 year and I've never heard of him, I would prefer not to get that one. I would prefer to get Collins with Baker. Much better pairing for how I collect. So that's a little component of it. 3 more and then we're all done. I would like to see Eddie Collins play. I think that'd be really fun. Frank Baker, cool as well. I collect them. Next one, Jason just did one. So again, I think it's fun. Like, I saw Jason doing food series issues and I'm like, yeah, I've done, 60s cards that you didn't think about. I've done 70s cards that are, not tops. Food issues. I think Sammy was calling and he was trying to come up with a way of saying not oddball. So, I might go just the R&S population, the rare and scarce. But food issue is legit. So I'm going to go food issue. And we will go with a really cool set. So this is another one of those sets. Do I want the Wagner? Do I want the Cobb? Do I want the, Joe Jackson? Good golly. Want, yes. Will I ever get them? Maybe. But it's going to be a hot minute. That's not one I just, write a check for. So then you start looking at these and you say, you know what? That's a 1914 Cracker Jack. That's still a Hall of Famer. That's still a big card in my world, but it's a little more manageable, and it doesn't mean I have to sell a car or a kidney to make that happen. So Ed Walsh, phenomenal career, interesting story. These guys really, when you dive in and you get into this pre-war, I think what makes this interesting and fun is that you start to really do some research. This is so thin with the lighting in this room, I can see the image of him clearly. That's how thin these things are. I'm trying to think if I have any of these ungraded. I'm sure I do. But they're so thin and fragile, it is scary. This one might have actually caught on fire. Can't tell like what that is. That's something legit. 1914 is some people call it the originals, and 15s is copies or reprints. But the writing is the exact same way. So for me, part of it is getting into some of the sets that are iconic, classic, or less known. I love that. I love having cards and items that are less seen. Love a cool image. The crease on this one is like right in his face. But it's still clean. The colors are vibrant, and actually at any kind of distance it becomes less and less offensive and hurtful, and maybe my old eyes are more forgiving now. He said, I think it was actually John in that video said, like, we don't collect, we don't use loops, we're not grading diamonds. I just want an example, and I want an example that when I look at it makes me smile, and that checks those boxes. So got an Ed Walsh, you're talking Black Sox, you're talking Hall of Famer, you're talking, local team. This next one, I would have never planned to purchase, especially in this grade. This grade is ridiculous for my collection. It's unacceptable. It's way too nice. But it checks a couple boxes. One of the boxes it checked was, I think the price was half what it should have been. I kind of looked it up and I was like, oof, that's a cool one. I don't see that come up very often. And I looked up recent sales, which weren't many. I mean, you're talking like over the course of years, and I was like, I think that's maybe a ridiculously good deal. And I kept digging, and I was like, I think it actually is, and I'm really glad I wake up at 4 a.m. and find these things before anyone else. So I just went ahead and snagged it. It was not a small purchase, but I do think I got it for like half of what it's worth. So I'm pretty pumped to have this thing. And it checks a couple other boxes. One of the boxes it checks is, I love the M101 series. -2, the big oversized supplements, fantastic. -4 and 5, these size. Even the like -3s and 6s and stuff that I don't have yet. Those are on the list. I love this stuff. This is wheelhouse for me. So if this is interesting for you, keep watching. I'll get more of it in the next several years. But sporting news. Happy Felsch. Hap. Can't even call him Happy. Charlie Sheen from 8 Men Out. Which I need to actually watch that. Maybe I'll make my kids do that for Father's Day. I don't ask for gifts. I ask for like 2 hours without complaining to watch a baseball movie. And they're extremely sweet and do. But great image. It's a stinking 6. If I can downgrade this at some point in life, I might. But the deal I got on it, I think I paid for it like it was a 1.5. I think it was extremely well priced. The other thing I love about this, I have so many of these that are blank backs. This one I actually scored with the sporting news right up on the back. Print, I guess, not right, but you know what I mean. So, for me, super neat. That's my first and only card of him. I had to think of who I have. So I'm trying to work through all the Black Sox. So again, what's interesting, obviously, if you're one of the Black Sox, you're not in the Hall of Fame. Some of the guys who were on the team maybe are still in because they weren't in that accused group, but I will definitely say that is a group that is worth collecting for how I collect. And then the last one, I just shared this, I think literally yesterday, but I might just share this every video for the next 2 months and let people unsubscribe that don't appreciate it. No, I'm not trying to make people mad, but I will show this thing over and over and over. It is Cigarros Trinidad. It's the Trinidad Brothers cigars. It's a premium. I believe it came as a postcard. I believe there are probably more fingers in this video than there are copies of this in existence. And can't see a lot of fingers. In fact, I've got some hiding. So I want to say there's maybe less than a handful. I have no idea. So if you're on Net 54, if you're more knowledgeable than I am, please share and tell me, no, there's, somebody has 9 of them, but I don't think there's that many in the world. I think there's a few. This is right prior to the 1926 World Series, before Game 1, so it's Hornsby and Ruth shaking hands. If I could pick players I'd want to see play, Rogers Hornsby would absolutely be on that list. And, we're talking Black Sox World Series, we're talking 1926 World Series, Yankees with Ruth and Gehrig versus Cardinals, who ended up winning with Hornsby. I wouldn't mind attending that game either. So I just wanted to get caught up a little bit. I've been feeling bad that I've been missing opportunities to contribute and support some of my friends. So John Mangini, How Do I Collect? Kind of like that. John P. Sorry I missed your VR, but I did want to at least contribute and mention a few players I'd want to see play, show a few cards, support some channels. So Mike, Jayhawker, Tony Talks Cards, and Neil, Cardboard Coach Neil. I will shout those 3 out as often as I can, and I'll tag them in this video. So if you're not following them, I would definitely jump over, watch 5 minutes, and if you think it's as fun as I do, you'll probably subscribe as well. So that's all I've got for today. Sorry it was a bit lengthy, but I've been missing some hobby time, so wanted to jump in here and share some recent pickups and some stories and jump in with folks. So and go check out Jason's couple videos on food issues. Very cool to see him splitting that into 2 sections and sharing some a little bit easier to find and some that you'll have to hunt to come up with. So good stuff. Food issues always fun. So see you guys on the next one. Take care.